All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Jess Larkin, and I am the Marketing and Communications Specialist at Cornerstone. I'm your host for the Build Your Brand webinar series and your go-to gal for answering all of your marketing and communications questions. I want to help you build a brand that's focused on growth. Today, we're talking about websites and how you can get started with a professional, responsive, and cutting-edge website today. But before we get into that, we'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, be sure to leave them in the chat box on your GoToWebinar dashboard, and we will answer them at the end of the webinar. My contact information is on the screen if you'd like to get in contact with me. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We post industry and Cornerstone updates and information on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. So go ahead and give us a follow. Good news, I am now offering full service marketing consultation services where I can help you optimize your brand and take it to the next level. Some of the services I offer are brand audits, social media management, print marketing, email marketing, and so on. Also, all brokers participating in this program will receive a free brand evaluation workbook. So contact me today for pricing and for more information. Like I said, this is exclusive to Cornerstone brokers. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to our friend Corey Paff from Cincinnati Web Tech, who's going to be walking us through how to create a website step by step. Cincinnati Web Tech is a design and development company that we at Cornerstone use, and we've partnered with them for years to keep our site looking fresh, modern, and optimized, and we highly recommend their services. So take it away, Corey.
As you said, I am Corey Paff here at Web Tech. So basically what I want to do today is just kind of go through the process from start to finish on how to build a website and kind of where you guys want to start. I'm going to try to keep it as high level as I can, just touching on kind of each process along the way, and more or less just try to get to the end so you guys can ask your personal questions, which I think will be more beneficial than some of these things. So we'll get right into it. The first process, or the first step of the process we like to do is the research. With any website, becoming any company that you're going to go to, you really want to start out with your own research. So sort through websites, look at other people's websites. There's really no, I would quote unquote, stealing these days, because no one's reinventing the wheel when it comes to a website. You know, trying to find what looks good to you on a website, how the structure is, what kind of features they may have. Those are really good things to bring to the table, really to figure out kind of what your own vision is going to be with the website and your own. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the brand of your company. And that's going to be the next slide, is really talking about your branding and what you guys want to do as a company, your colors, your logos, your fonts, your look and feel, the types. If you want to be informational, e-commerce. Are you going to sell things on your website, which is e-commerce? Or are you just going to be an informational brochure type website that's going to show off what you do, your services? Cornerstone and WebTech's websites are more informational based. They're just a way to go onto the website and find information about who you are as a company and try to get maybe a contact or request a quote type of a website. Those are majority of websites. E-commerce are obviously the ones that are going to sell products online. But trying to get that identity and that research done first, just so you kind of understand where you want to go with a website. So when you come to a web company, you're not completely clueless of what your even intentions are. You would be surprised how people come to us and say, well, I want a website, but I really don't know what I need or what I really want at this point. I know I want a website. So do some research ahead of time. Like I said, lead you into your branding. Branding is really important because you only really get one shot at it, and you want to keep it consistent across everything. You want your website to have your brand on it. You want your business cards, your brochures, your print work, maybe even your vehicles with wraps and things like that. So coming up with your branding and spending the time and the money on your brand is very important, and a lot of people kind of brush over this a lot of times. I will tell you, I'd say probably 1 out of 20 websites that we build, someone or a company has even a brand guideline. Most people don't even have anything besides potentially a logo, and even that they're sometimes not even happy with. So spend the time and money really to build your logo out, and that comes with the fonts and the colors and everything like that that really can help. Because you think about it, it's going to be on everything. So it is, especially nowadays, without the yellow pages and without things like that, your website is your #1 way to market yourself. So Branding is very, very important. And, just kind of slogans as well. I mean, you can really think about anything with a branding, but I would spend the time on it. But so with research and branding, you're really at that point at least know kind of the start of where you're at with your look, what you're going to want, and then the next step is a sitemap. A sitemap, the best way I describe this to people, other than just the amount of pages or what pages you're going to want on the website, is an outline of your company. In the old school ways where you had the outline of like the big I, the little a, and things like that. That's kind of how we build our sitemap to build our website. So when we come up with, and I'll go back to the beginning, design, develop, marketing, host. Those 4 things are our main pieces of our sitemap. Those are our main 4 pieces of our company that we do. We design websites, we develop them, we market them, and we host them. So that really helped us start organizing our company with our sitemap. And then underneath each one, you can think of, okay, design, we do web design, we do logo design, we do brochure design, and kind of think of it that way. Not only are you creating your website pages at that point, you're also kind of making it easy to keep thinking of your keywords, which is also good for search engine optimization, which obviously a whole different topic than today, but that's really good to kind of say, okay, I have my design pages, I have my development pages, and my marketing and my hosting pages. That way, you're really kind of building this out. So therefore, now you have your logo, your branding. Now you have your sitemap of all the different pages that you know you're going to want to talk about somewhere on your site. It doesn't have to be a new page for every single thing, but it helps create your content, which is very, very complicated to do. And that's kind of the next step is the content. It's hard to come up with content out of nowhere. So using that sitemap and that outline that you just built to kind of come up with all the ideas of what makes your company unique helps create that content. That's the most daunting thing that anybody comes to us with, is saying, I don't really have any content. I'm not a content writer. Well, most web developers aren't content writers either. So like for us at WebTech, we don't do the content, or, we'll help you find imagery. We can also help find the content, or help steer you in the right direction. But we aren't English majors by any means, and we aren't somebody you're going to want to put the content on your site. So coming up with that content from the sitemap, from the outline, is the best route I would tell anyone to use. It's very, very helpful. And when you think about the unique content you're writing, you don't want to be too verbose on the website. You want to have a decent amount, I should say, because of, again, search engine optimization. You want some good content, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want a website full of just words and words and words and people looking at it. So what we did is we used our outline, our sitemap, with headlines. So we basically would say on our design page, maybe we would say print design or logo design. We'd talk maybe 2 sentences about what the process is for our logo design. So if someone doesn't care about logo design, they just skip right over the header and move on to the next one. Maybe it's brochure design. So it breaks up the content and makes it look nicer. It's not just this big novel of text all through. People just have a very short attention span these days, so you want to kind of keep it quick. Imagery is the next one after content. Same thing. Images make or break your website. They are what people see. People love more visuals than reading these days. So the more you can spend on imagery, you can either go to a professional photographer, which I would say I got really low percentage of people even do that, but when they do, it really does help make your site look unique and really nice. Stock photography is a good one as well. We use stock.adobe.com for our stock photos. Really nice place to start. For us, we give out like 10 free images to use per website when people come to us. So I don't know how other developers do it, but if you don't have unique images and you come to us, you give us some of the images that are super small and pixelated, and you guys took it in a warehouse somewhere and they don't look good, we'll just let you know, hey, let's use some stock photos until you get some better ones, because you don't want to just put anything out on your website. It's going to make you look much worse than you are if you just put bad ones out there. So very, very important. Use good imagery together, and to create those things. Design and develop. So now once we have the branding done, the sitemap created, the outline, the content now started to form, and the imagery given to us, we started a design process. This is kind of when we start taking over and doing most of the work. This is the part where I'll set up a test website on our test server. I'll start putting in the logos, the branding, the style sheets, all the structuring of the website, and I'll start adding in those imagery and the content and kind of building out I'll use the sitemap that you had for the navigation. I'll start building that out, and I'll start building the homepage with the next images that you had and the content, and I'll start kind of creating that as more or less the brochure of the website. I'll use the main tidbits of what you want people to see as fast as possible right there on the homepage, and then get them to the subpages as quick as possible without a lot of verbiage. That's usually the process that I'll stop at with the homepage and the sitemap and the styles and everything finished, and I'll send that to you guys to look at. And that's when you will come back and say, okay, I like this, I don't like this, we move this here. And we go back and forth until we get a good homepage done that we all agree on, and we'll move on to the subpages. And at that point, we go back and forth until we get the full page or the full website built. And then, and at that point, once we kind of have a good process or product created, we'll go to the finalizing stage, and we'll just make sure that everything's looking good. We go back through, make sure links are all working, make sure all the forms are working, just make sure everything is completely ready to go. And then you go to the go live stage. Going live obviously is a great day for you. Finally, it's done. The process is finished, but it's also a little nerve-wracking too, because if you have a current website, trying to switch it over, you want to make sure things are done correctly. There's a lot of things like 301 redirects to make sure that are set up, which are basically ways that you say from your old site. If you have a page that was called the About page on your old site, you want to make sure that the new site knows where that new About page is, so Google doesn't just completely erase that data that you ever built up. So making sure things are done right that way with going live is a big deal. And when you're ready to go live, you have to choose where you're basically going to store your web files. If you choose a company like us, from start to finish, we would basically just push it from our test server to our production server or live server, and then we would point your domain, which is another part of, I guess I messed over with the branding. Your domain name is where you purchase, for us, it's CincinnatiWebTech.com or CRNstone or whatever. I think it's right, CRNstone.com. For Cornerstone, that's part of your branding, and that's your link to go there. So that needs to be pointed to the web server. This is where it gets kind of technical, and that's why I have my business partner, Chris, help me out with all this stuff. But basically, we store the files on the server, put the domain there, and now you're hosting your website. I did post our link to our hosting packages, so you kind of can see more of, I guess I can throw that up here real quick. Let's see, can you see the hosting plan?
Yes.
Jessica? Okay, cool. So this is just a normal hosting plan PDF that we created for our clients, and this is just the different types of hosting you can do. Most people are on our $100 plan. Some people that are doing it themselves do the $25, and then a couple people that do more of the extra work ongoing or search engine optimization or marketing things hop on the $500. But as you can see, what I really want to show is the stuff on the left-hand side. There's a lot of things that you don't realize that you need to keep up with a website. Daily backups, make sure that if your site ever does happen to go down, that you have a backup of it. WordPress, we use WordPress a lot of times to build our websites, our informational websites. And they have core updates you want to make sure with, like the theme, the plugins, the overall website, WordPress and PHP. You want to make sure that someone's keeping those up to date, just to make sure that you're not getting hacked and things like that. And SSL certificates to keep your site secure. Monthly updates. Again, you can take a look at this on this link that I had sent over. So whenever you, and I think, Jess, you're going to send this to them at the end too, so they have it. So you'll have that PDF link. So once you're going live, the site's hosted there. It points to the domain, and boom, now you're live. Obviously, like I said, it's a great day for once it goes live, because everyone's happy that you got your new branding up there. Once you're done with the lot, taking everything live, the maintenance thing, like I told Jess, that this is a much larger conversation to go through, which I won't bore you with today. But you want to make sure those maintenance things are done for the hosting. So even if it's not, say, WebTech who does it and you host it, say, with GoDaddy or someone like that, that's just more do-it-yourself, making sure someone on your team is going in there and making those updates is crucial, because you do not want your site to get hacked, especially if you're not backing it up. We've had nightmare stories of people losing everything. So just make sure that you have somebody doing those types of maintenance things for you. But once your site is live, that's usually when we have the conversation about marketing or ongoing help. If there's updates that need to be done, every client is unique, and WebTech's flexible with figuring out, okay, can we do this? Can we find you someone that can do that for you, and so on. So if you do have any other questions about the ongoing help once your site is live, let us know, and we can definitely help you kind of take the next step. But hope I didn't bore you too long. And if you guys do have any extra questions about the whole process of a website start to finish, feel free to let me know. I do have our URL and our phone number up there. My email address direct, I didn't put that on there, is Corey, Corey, and it's just at our domain at cincinnatiwebtech.com. So Jess, is there any questions that you see coming in?
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions. If you guys have any, just leave them in the question box on the GoToWebinar dashboard, and we will answer these one by one. So you keep talking about hosting, domains, SSL certificates. Can you talk about the most important components of a basic website? Like, what does hosting actually mean?
Right.
What is a domain name? Things like that.
Sure, yeah. And I always tell people there's three main hosting pieces in any website. You have the email hosting, which can be done, say, Microsoft 365 or G Suite. You have your web hosting, which is done by usually a web company. You can find them elsewhere with, I think, WordPress and GoDaddy, and there's a bunch of just smaller ones that are kind of more do-it-yourself hosting ones. And then your domain hosting, which again is pretty cheap. Domain hosting is your URL. It's cincinnatiwebtech.com is our domain, and you have to purchase that. It's usually around $15 a year or so. You can buy it in bulk if you need to buy it for multiple years. That's your first thing you do. The web hosting is the most complex, I would say, because there's so many different options. What we try to do at WebTech is we try to kind of encompass the annoyances of hosting a website and all the things that you should be doing that we know most people don't know how to do. We try to package that into our $100 a month plan. Our hourly rate is $125 an hour. So we also give an hour of our time with that. So we do all the work with something like that. Like you said, we host it on our web server. We have all the SSLs included. We have the backups included. We have the updates included. And we also give an hour of our time included, all within $100 a month. So that's why we kind of settled on that number, just because it's one of those things where we know most people, even for $25 a month, they still have to know how to manage it and maintain it. And most people do not, or they don't want to. So for an extra $75, they can have us do it and give an extra hour for if they have web updates or if they want to talk SEO or brainstorm about something with their company. We have a lot of companies that just do that. Like, hey, can we just hop on a call once a month for our hour just to kind of brainstorm with a tech company about maybe some things they have questions about, and we do that for them as well. So but those are the three different ones, and those are the most crucial to make sure that you have set up at some point somewhere with a company.
Okay. So if you don't necessarily have the capital to hire a third-party web developer to create your website, what are your thoughts on sites like Squarespace, Wix, etc.?
Yeah, I think that a lot of them are getting better. So if you're going to do, say, an e-commerce by yourself, I would recommend Shopify. I think Shopify does a good job of keeping it very, very basic. I'm not a huge fan of Shopify myself, only for the sense that it locks me up to I can't do a lot. You get to do a decent amount on your homepage. The sub pages are lacking. It's really meant for selling products and just showing your product pages and not having a lot of informational pages. Squarespace, I've heard good things about. I've never personally used it, but I do love Square as a company. So I think that they're, again, if you're doing a regular website, I've seen people do informational websites that look pretty good through Squarespace. And same thing with e-commerce because they can tie it together. WordPress is another one that we obviously use and recommend. What I would tell you about WordPress is that it's probably worthwhile to spend money on a paid theme because you do get extra things and it's going to make your life so much easier. I think our theme is like $59 for a license, and it makes the back end so much easier to look and see and do. Even if you hired, say, web tech for just like a quick, hey, can you get my website up and running for me using this theme, and then I'll take it from there to design it and develop it all. Even spending a little bit of money just to kind of have someone do that for you to kind of show you the ropes, so you're not just trying to learn it all on your own, is another option you could do. But yeah, so I think that those are the routes I would take for doing it yourself. Would either be some sort of WordPress paid theme plugin or a Shopify e-commerce store. I think those are probably your best benefits. It's a learning curve. So I will say, everyone that comes to it, if you are willing to learn and be patient and watch tutorials, you'll figure it out and you'll be able to do it. It's just, you have the time to invest in it, and that's kind of where you got to decide on your own.
Okay. So let's say they are willing to put together a website, they need that on their business card, they need it on their social media, and they want to do the bare minimum for a website. What pages would you recommend they create?
So I would definitely always have a home page, and the home page could consist of your about information. So you could kind of forego an about page. You honestly, we have websites or companies that do one-page websites nowadays, just to have your brand up top, some nice capturing images up top, and then a little blurb about who you guys are, talk a little about your services, and then have a contact form at the bottom. So realistically, you really want to have a landing page, some sort of service area or about who you are, and then a contact to get a hold of you. Those are really the basics that you need. But you can definitely throw it all on one page. I will say, if you do a one-page website, don't expect your SEO or search engine optimization, basically where you're found on Google, to be very high, because if one-pagers really just aren't meant to be searched for by Google. I mean, it's just the way you set things up, the way you set pages up and things like that, you lose a lot of that. But if you just are worried about getting your brand out there and getting a nice looking website, one pages are totally fine.
Okay. You kind of answered this question. Should I put a blog on my website?
Blogs are great, and everyone wants them at first. The answer I'm going to give is, if you have someone that's going to continually put something up on your blog, then yes. If you're not, and you're going to forget about it after the first month and then you don't touch it for 2 years, I would say no. The benefits of blogs are that they do create content, and if you're writing on a regular basis, say it's only 2 times a month, that's fine. You're at least getting your site fresh. It's adding content, which is good for search, especially if we're talking about important things and lingo that's coming up. But it's really based on, are you going to have time to keep it going? Because nothing looks worse than a website that has a blog and then you look at it and it's a year old. This is the last time that they touched it. So that's my answer for that. I just would recommend making sure before you get it all set up. If you're doing a WordPress website, it's really, really simple because it's already built into it. So it's not like a big old, it's just going to make time consuming or money to get this blog set up. It's just more or less the look of it. So WordPress does a really good job of making it super easy just to turn on or off a blog, and then you can just start making your post, and it's not a big deal. So it's not a big money pit. It's just more of a time pit.
So kind of building off of that, just to show them how long it would actually take to create blog posts, how big, or how many words, like the word count for a blog post, would you recommend for good SEO?
I think they say, I would probably say at least 500. So someone was talking to me with some crazy amount of like 2,500 or something. I was like, I don't know if I would even read that. but
right.
Word count stuff, I never know how big. I haven't talked word count since college about how long I had to do a project for it. But word count for SEO, they do say you could probably Google it. It changes like every year. So if you're really worried about SEO, just Google, SEO word count per page, and it'll show you what the latest and greatest number is, and you can try to target that. There's also plugins. If you're on WordPress, there's this one plugin called SEO Yoast. It is a nice plugin that will kind of let you know, hey, you need to put your title here, or hey, you need to put more words about this here. So it kind of gives you a little checklist of those things on there. So that'd be helpful. But no, you don't have to go anything crazy with it. Honestly, what's more helpful just by having the page, having the title tag, having the H1 tag, which are all parts of each web page that have the keywords and the questions in it. If you have a very unique question that you kind of have, say, in a blog post header, and someone actually types an exact question into Google, you have a better chance because of the uniqueness of the long-winded question to show up. So there's no rhyme or reason to exact word count, but just having the page itself and talking about that exact question or keyword is beneficial.
Okay. So for people who do not yet have a domain name, who maybe don't have their branding just yet, what are your recommendations for domain names?
Yeah, so go to GoDaddy.com. That's the one we use. It's right at the very top. You can start searching anything. If you search what you think you want, and it's already taken, it'll just give you suggestions of what other ones similar to that you can do. What you don't want to do is have a very, very, very long domain name. We would love to have webtech.com. It was taken, so we went with CincinnatiWebtech.com. This was 12 years ago when we decided it. And it actually benefited us back then because back then geolocations weren't that big, so you had to put Cincinnati in your website a lot of times to kind of show where you were when you were getting searched for. Nowadays, it's not as big, so you don't have to put Cincinnati on everything. Google knows where people are and things like that. So keep it short if you can. Try not to use dashes if you don't have to. If it's one of those things, it's obviously a personal preference, but just start on GoDaddy. Start just looking. You can always find the trends. Like sometimes people put shop webtech. It was a shop or my in front of things or whatever. But obviously, there's a lot of domains taken, so try to be creative and think of it, but don't make it super long.
Yeah, that's one thing that I like about our domain, crnstone.com. It's really easy to communicate with people too. So if they need to go to a specific page, it's just crnstone.com. Just go there.
Yeah, and I would recommend. I don't know if you guys do have it or not, but you could buy multiple domains. So if they do have cornerstone.com or ancillary.com, they could point Cornerstone to the CRN Stone and still give out whoever. Because for us, we buy web tech with an H as well, because a lot of people put the H on tech because it would make sense. So we bought both those URLs just in case they spell it wrong, and it will still redirect to the correct website. So because they're so cheap, you can buy multiple. You just want to make sure you have one main one, and all the rest are just pointing to that domain and not pointing to the actual site. So it's going to look like you have multiple sites at that point. So again, those are things that are technical that someone like WebTech can help you with when you're setting it up and going live.
All right. It looks like that's all the questions that we have for today. Thank you all for joining us. You can look out for other upcoming webinars in this series and in others. Tomorrow we have an individual corner webinar with Oscar, and then this Thursday we have a group corner webinar about level-funded claim reporting. And up next in the Build Your Brand series, we'll talk about how to create onboarding kits for your clients. So you can register for all of those webinars on the Cornerstone website at www.crnstone.com. And if you have a few minutes after this webinar, please take some time to fill out the survey so we can learn what kind of content you are most interested in. And I'd like to thank Corey for joining us today for the fourth year in a row. Thank you, Corey.
You're welcome.
And I hope you all have a great day.